Now, let's talk about one of the most powerful, and dangerous, forces in human behavior, dopamine. When you set out to do something, whether it's walking to the store, learning a new skill, or building a business, your brain doesn't just passively watch you. It tracks what you're doing in real time. Certain circuits in your brain light up, monitoring your actions, your progress, and your results. And here's the critical part: if what you're doing actually works, if it moves you toward your desired goal, your brain rewards those circuits by flooding them with dopamine. This chemical bath strengthens the exact neural pathways that were active while you were succeeding. That's why winning feels good. It's literally your brain saying, "Yes, do that again." The same process happens with habits. The more you repeat a successful action, the stronger those circuits become. Over time, the behavior becomes easier, more automatic, and more likely to stick. That's why small, repeated wins matter more than occasional big victories, because you're training your brain to expect and reproduce success. Be careful what you teach your brain to want. But here's the catch: this reinforcement system doesn't distinguish between good and bad habits. If you repeatedly pursue something harmful, your brain will still strengthen those pathways. That's how addictions form. You keep chasing the same reward, and the neural circuits for that pursuit grow stronger and more demanding. Over time, you've essentially built a little monster inside you, a specialized circuit whose only goal is to keep getting that reward, no matter what else it costs you. And that monster won't care about your long-term well-being. It will pull your thoughts, your motivation, and your behavior toward its single obsession. That's why you have to be careful about the habits you allow to take root. Every repeated action is a vote for the person you are becoming, whether you like it or not. Meaning, the shield against suffering. Now, let's shift to something deeper. In order to withstand suffering, and believe me, life will hand you more than enough of it, your life needs to have meaning. When I say meaning, I'm not speaking in abstract, poetic terms. I mean it in the most practical, almost mechanical sense possible. Meaning is what transforms unavoidable pain into something you can bear, even something you can grow from. Think about it: if you make a mistake that causes you suffering, but you learn from it, the suffering wasn't wasted. You converted pain into knowledge. You turned a setback into a stepping stone. That's meaning in action. And this isn't just a philosophical idea. Research on expressive writing with over 250 participants found that people who embraced discomfort, instead of avoiding it, felt a stronger sense of achievement. They were more likely to keep journaling, to process their thoughts, and to see their struggles as signs of progress. This is what I call the "life is suffering" principle, not in a pessimistic way, but in a realistic one. If you accept that suffering is inevitable, then the question becomes, how do I make it worth it? And the answer is to weave your suffering into something meaningful. The role of negative emotion in learning. When you try something and fail, especially when you're young, your emotional system reacts strongly. Think of a 2-year-old who doesn't get what they want: instant tears, frustration, maybe even a tantrum. Why? Because their internal model of the world just broke. They thought one action would lead to a certain result, and it didn't. That emotional reaction is their nervous system's way of saying, "Stop. Pay attention. Something needs to change." Negative emotions are signals. They tell you you're off track. They push you to adjust, to recalibrate. And yes, they're uncomfortable, but without them, you wouldn't know when to correct course. The problem comes when we treat all discomfort as a danger signal, instead of recognizing that sometimes, discomfort is simply the price of growth. Curiosity, the antidote to overwhelm. Now, here's something important: learning doesn't have to be painful. People are naturally curious. When you explore something new at the right pace, learning can be exciting, even addictive in the best way. The key is pacing. If you push yourself into too much novelty too quickly, you'll get overwhelmed, and that's when frustration kicks in. But if you open up just enough novelty to challenge yourself without flooding your system, you'll experience something different: possibility. And possibility triggers dopamine in a positive way. This balance, between stability and novelty, is where the magic happens. You keep one foot on solid ground and the other stepping into the unknown. You learn, you adapt, and you grow without burning yourself out. Practical steps to harness all of this. Identify one fixable flaw. Every evening, ask yourself, what's one thing I'm doing wrong that I could fix and would fix? Act on it the next day. Automate your routines. Reduce decision fatigue by structuring your mornings, meals, and work sessions. Switch from recognition to recall. Stop relying on highlights and rereading. Practice explaining concepts without looking at your notes. Read and write daily. Even 20 minutes of reading plus 10 minutes of reflective writing can reshape your thinking over time. Visualize success. Use mental imagery to reinforce the same pathways you'll use in real performance. Guard your habits. Don't let short-term pleasures hijack your reward system. Build habits that serve your long-term self. Transform pain into progress. When you fail, ask, what's the lesson here? Turn mistakes into building blocks. Balance novelty and stability. Keep enough routine to stay grounded, but enough challenge to keep growing. If you commit to these principles, not just for a week, but as a lifestyle, you will start to see a profound change in your productivity, your focus, and your ability to handle life's challenges. You'll stop being pulled in every direction by random impulses, and instead, you'll begin moving forward with purpose. Because at the end of the day, it's not the occasional burst of effort that defines your life. It's what you repeat. Every thought, every action, every choice is training your brain, for better or for worse. So train it wisely.